This week on the 77% Street Debate.
We chose to drink, but in the entire world, nobody chooses to become an alcoholic.
In my family, we are called moreu.
The Kikuyu word for the drunks.
The drunks.
What do you think needs to be done more by us as a community, by government and other stakeholders?
They have judged our youth. They have judged the alcoholics.
So I would tell my younger self, please, just keep off drugs. Don't take even that first sip.
Hello and welcome back to the 77% Street Debate. This week we are in Murang'a in central Kenya. Now, according to the national statistics, 1 in every 8 Kenyans consumes alcohol. Not a very big number, but when you consider that 42% of those who drink are considered to be alcoholics, then question marks start to arise. Well, we're here in central Kenya, one of the most affected regions, to try and find out why and what society can do to address this. And I want to begin with Maria. Do you mind sharing what your journey through addiction and recovery has been?
I feel like I've struggled with alcohol addiction for 13 years. Well, since my first drink, basically. I haven't been able to drink nicely or properly, as most people would say.
But at what point did you realize that, hey, this is beyond just the usual drink over the weekend, it's beyond a dependency, it's something else?
I used to tell myself I do not have a drinking problem. Honestly, I would call myself an alcoholic, just for laughs, just for gags. But in truth, I really did have a drinking problem. I wouldn't wake up and drink, but I would get a whole bottle, let's say a 750 ml Mzinga, and finish it off by myself in my room. I would maybe go out with friends. They would drink nice and responsibly, but I would always drink to black out.
Yeah. Do you remember at what point you felt like you need to drink in excess?
Probably when my father died, honestly. All my life, I think my father struggled with addiction, or with alcohol, basically. And it was an open secret, you know. His family never really spoke about it. He never spoke to us about it. But we could all see that he's struggling with it. I think he went to rehab 3 times. Yeah, I think when he died, I felt, alcohol took him. Let me show alcohol who's boss, you know, which... huge mistake.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that in a short while. But Shiro, we're talking about recovery, and you're literally just days into your recovery journey. 50 how many days?
56 days.
Well, congratulations. How are you feeling right now?
I feel so good, Edith. I feel so good because alcoholism is something I've struggled with for like over, I think, 15 years plus. Yeah, and it's not the normal drinking, like I have a drink on Friday and that's it for the weekend, you know. It's daily drinking from morning till evening, and that's a routine Monday to Sunday. So I can say, like, for now, I am so happy. I can wake up sober. I know what is happening here. I'm not drunk, so I'm so rada.
Yeah. So rada, I like that. And for you, again, what was the point at which you felt, all right, this is it, I need to turn my life around, or something is not going to work out in the end?
I have a son, and I have not really been a part of his life due to the disease now, the alcoholism. I've not been a part of his life for like the longest time. He's turning 11 this year. Yeah. And it took me, but I'm glad. I feel disappointed and glad that it took me almost 11 years for me to come out of it. But I'm so glad now I can be there for my son.
Yeah. Not to jump the gun or anything, but I know earlier you had said that you had tried recovery before and you kind of slipped and fell back into it. Are you hopeful that this time it will be different?
Oh yes, I'm very, very hopeful, because this time around my higher power, I've left it to him. So I'm so ready for the journey. Yeah.
Okay. So Anne, I want to introduce you because you're also a recovering addict, but beyond that, you also have a community-based organization working very, very closely with communities here who are struggling with alcoholism. So based on what you've heard and your own personal experience, how widespread is the problem of alcohol abuse and addiction in Kenya?
In fact, it should be declared a national disaster, because actually we are losing a lot of people to alcoholism, more than all other drugs and other diseases put together. Addiction is a shame-based disease, and that is the reason why we can't say that we have the statistics right, absolutely 100%, because like in the villages, what they do, when a person dies from alcoholism, nobody talks about it. They're taken to the mortuary. After that, even at times no PM, no, we don't know the cause of death. At times they're not even taken to the mortuary, they're just buried. So we don't really know how many people we are losing in a week. In Kirinyaga, we lost more than 20 people. And now we cannot say that it's just the young people who are drinking, because the age group that we buried is between 39 and 74. So you can see now it's not just the teenagers, just the youth, but even elderly people.
Yeah.
So it is a big problem that cuts across the board. We cannot say it's this group of people, the rich, the poor. It's anybody can get trapped into the addiction world,
Yeah.
and it's really deep and it's really dark.
I like that we've established that there's obviously a problem, and I think there's a double problem here because the illicit brew question has been brought up, the bastardized alcohol. But John, I wanted to come to you because you're a youth leader and you decided that your organization, Jenga Jamii Initiative, which is Swahili for Build the Community or the Society Initiative, to tackle this problem. Why was it so important for you?
It was very important to me because my grandfather used to drink. He was a DDO, daily drinking officer. And the worst scenario that he did was selling his 21 hectares of land and then drinking to the last penny, and then he died, leaving his children struggling, and even to date, they are still struggling. So I felt if someone had raised, if someone have started fighting against that menace, maybe my grandfather could not have died. And then talking to women, parents, because I'm also a pastor, the most challenges which comes in the churches is my child is in alcoholism, my child left or maybe stopped his education just because of alcoholism. So I felt, no, this is time for us to raise up.
But Anne, before we proceed, nobody ever takes their first drink thinking that they're going to end up into alcoholism. So what leads one into that sort of spiral such that you no longer have control?
It's not a one-off thing. And I always tell people, we chose to drink, but in the entire world, nobody chooses to become an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. And so we go through the 5 stages. The addiction has 5 stages. The experimental, where you're experimenting. The social, which is still okay because you're functional. And then instrumental is when you start getting blackouts. Then we have the habitual stage. Habitual stage is where now you even try to come out, you cannot come out because already the brain is addicted. The body is addicted to the drug. Actually, it's not you who is making the choice. It's not you abusing the drug. It's now the drug abusing you. This is a stage whereby it's all about losses. You lose your job, you start selling your things, and then you lose your self-worth, self-esteem, and it leads now, this is a time a person now starts becoming suicidal. They start having suicidal ideations, yes.
And you said that you lost quite a number of people in your family,
yes,
because of alcohol use.
In my family, we have that problem. We've buried quite a number of cousins. My dad died in a road accident while under the influence of alcohol. My sister, drug-related complications. My brother had been to rehab 13 times, and still he didn't make it. We buried him 3 years ago. I lost my nephew as well, alcohol-related complications. My niece, rather, alcohol-related complications. So we have a number of graves that are all alcohol-related. So it's nearly wiped out my family.
Yeah. So let me just hear from the people who are in the audience, right? Because we are hearing that parents and families being addicted might be a contributing factor. Did any of you grow up with parents who you would say were dependent or alcoholics? Please raise your hand. Let's see. Can you please tell me about your story?
My name is Eric. And I think alcoholism is something that, first of all, we should deal with it. And for sure, I bet when I was growing up, I was finding myself like when I was a kid, like my father would come drunk, like fight, like piga mama, you see. And sometimes, for example, in my family, we are called moreu, you see. We are called moreu.
The Kikuyu word for the drunks.
The drunks, you see. So we find ourselves like, for example, the firstborns. In fact, the firstborns, all of us, we are drunkards.
Does that include you?
I would say yes.
Okay.
You see. But what we say is that we would like, for sure, we would like to stop.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes we come up with like the first cousins, we say like, in Kikuyu we say, no to the bori, you see. Mm-hmm. Like we can slaughter and pour that blood. We cast that, you see, we cast that thing.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask Stella a question here. Stella has been sent by a local government representative here. We call them MCAs, members of the county assembly. And I'm just wondering, when you hear people speaking here, this is not a problem one generation. Yeah. It's 2, 3, sometimes 4 generations deep. So where do we even begin to tackle it?
The only way we can tackle it is if we start from the onset, from the family setting to the society to the leadership bit. Because as we're saying, most of us were not introduced. Alcohol was introduced to us from our younger ages. Those who were introduced to it in the class 6, class 7, they found it at home. When it comes to what the leadership is doing right now, because I think for the last few years, Murang'a has really had a big problem. But I think over the years, we can say that Murang'a there are steps that have gone, that there's a lot that has been taken in place, and that is why you can be able to, we are here and you cannot see a drunk man walking around and shouting at us.
But the absence of them here in the town does not mean the absence of them in their entirety. I mean, we all come from rural homes. We know they drink huko deep in the interior.
So that is what I'm saying. There are steps that, you can say we are not as bad as it was, but it's still something that we are struggling with as a society. One of the things that our county assembly has been able to do, and our governor and the county assembly, is that they are working towards a youth bill. The youth bill is it's a program they're calling the MYS, Murang'a Youth Service. So these MYS, they're trying to take the youth who are not actively involved in anything. They wake up, they have nowhere to go. So these young people are being taken, given work to do for 3 months, and they're paid for the work. And then these young people decide, is there something I would like to learn? Is there a skill that would make me feel more useful? Because one of the reasons why people take alcohol, because they feel, the people are desperate, they have nothing to do with their lives.
Let me hear from John.
That's very good on side of the county government. But I'm here to say the county government is doing nothing.
Oh.
It is doing totally nothing as far as alcoholism is concerned. The so-said MYS is not meant to help the addicts. It is meant to help few, just to give them casual works.
But don't you agree that that's a step in preventing people from being disillusioned and potentially falling into alcohol abuse?
To me, I think that is a waste of money.
Okay.
Because what should be done is this. Hospitals in Kenya are devolved. What if the county government thinks of establishing rehabilitation centers in every hospital? So that whomever is sick can go there, access medication, then take him to MYS.
Okay, so you think they have it the wrong way around. Let me hear from Anne here because she's itching to speak to me.
Yes. If there's any people who are failing us is the county governments. The NACADA mandate has been devolved. And the money they collect from licensing of bars is supposed to go to treatment, rehabilitation, public education, advocacy, and psychosocial support. Right now, we don't even have a county funded treatment facility as we speak now. Yeah. We don't. Where are they taking the 30% that is supposed to go to that? What is the Alcoholic Drinks Control Act in Murang'a County saying? Is it in place? Have they passed it? Because we had a meeting with the Deputy President last year, and all counties were supposed to come out with an Alcoholic Drinks Control Act. What have they done about it? I haven't heard about it.
Okay.
I'm in the campaign. I haven't heard about it.
Let me.
Licensing should go to treatment and rehabilitation. It's not for building roads.
All right. Let me just bring our audience up to speed. The Alcoholics Drinks Act is what regulates the control of sale, production, and distribution of alcohol in this country. NACADA, which is what you're wearing here, is the national authority in the campaign against alcohol abuse and drug addiction. Now, you've been told you're doing nothing. I have to give you a chance to respond.
The government has a very big stake on prevention and on the curative bit, because the rehabilitation, for those who are already addicted, they need help, they need cure. At least in Murang'a County, they're able to benefit from, because facilities are able to give that care.
If you have someone who is addicted and they go to hospital, they can get that care. We have something they're calling the NHIF, that is the free NHIF that is from the county government. They're calling it, it is called the Kangata Care. All the vulnerable people in the society are able to apply and they get the card. And this card is paid by the county government and is given to the people. So if a family has someone who is ailing, they're able to get that card. And when that person needs care, even if it is Mathari or wherever facility they can go, they can go, get treatment and get out.
Okay, so tap into the resources that are already available. And I want to bring in Canon here. Canon is a mixologist. He works behind the bar. You wouldn't expect to see him in a debate like this, and yet here he is. And I wonder, is there such a thing as responsible drinking?
Yeah, I think it's there. Depending on whoever that you are serving. Because I've seen examples that I stay behind the bar and I'm serving some guys. That this guy will say, okay, fine, I want to just take one bottle and go home because I'm driving. Or my wife is waiting me at home, so I don't need to drink so much.
Obviously, not everybody who takes alcohol ends up an alcoholic. And alcohol was also revered in our cultures. We have different names for it, different rites around it. So what is a healthy relationship with alcohol like? How would you describe it?
To me, it has to revolve around drinking responsibly.
While driving?
Yeah. No, let's just stick on the drinking responsibly, because we can't just stand here and demonize the whole thing, all right? So we should have those people who are supplying alcohol, maybe the spirit and whatever. We should have specific distributors who are licensed by the government who should supply it to places, other than having quirky wine and spirit here and there. You see, that will end us having things that we are not supposed to be taking.
Okay, let me come back to Evanson here, because we were talking about illicit brews earlier, right? And this is a primary reason for people landing themselves in hospital. What chemicals are in some of these drinks?
We have chemicals including methane and ethanol that have with overrated levels. Actually, now we are having local home preparations where alcohols are being prepared at homes, then they are repackaged, and therefore we are seeing people losing sight and getting kidney conditions, people getting alcohol poisoning, and for that matter even blacking out.
And this is why you were talking about going to a trusted distributor. But listen, I enjoy my glass of wine at the end of the week like any other person, right? But I don't want to have to think about who the distributor was. So as a consumer, is it possible to protect yourself against illicit brews?
I don't think so.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, and
We have bars that are fully licensed that actually display the good alcohol from Kenya breweries and all that. And the back room is where they're selling the ethanol, water and flavor mixture. So it's not that these illicit brews are being sold in some shady places. They are being sold in the bar.
Ryan, talk to me.
I do take liquor, and it's not once or twice I've done liquor, hoping it will be the original one. Finding myself, I'm
Yeah. So you've had an experience where you bought alcohol over the counter thinking it's a brand that you are familiar with, and then what happened to you? Did you get unwell?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to know about what's happening with men here, with families. Talk to me about that, because you're here.
Families have broken, and we are having a lot of single parenting. So sometimes when a man fails to maybe achieve responsibilities of the family, a man tends to hide. And the way to hide is through alcoholism and other drugs. So that's why we are having a lot of youth drinking, just because the society is lacking fathers.
Okay, so broken families, lack of education from the kids who've been left. But because you focused on men, and it is true that 1 in 5 men do take alcohol compared to 1 in every 20 women. But women are also drinking. For you, you talked about having a child who you hadn't seen. How was the relationship with your parents and with your family during that time?
It was terrible, because now me not being there for my son means my son now has to have someone to look after him. You see, now that's giving other people responsibilities that really aren't meant for them.
Yeah. Maria, we haven't spoken in a while. Knowing what you know now and doing the podcast to try and help people who are grappling with the same thing, what do you think needs to be done more by us as a community, by government and other stakeholders?
First and foremost, of course, is to talk about it. As I said, mine with my father was an open secret. Why is it an open secret? Why not bring the kids together, explain to them, oh, this is what's going on with your father, or this is what's going on with your brother, or alcohol has taken a hold of your mother. You know, the more we speak about it and the more we as people in recovery are able to explain what we went through, how we wish things would have been different, that's the very first step that we need to take.
Okay.
Of course.
Let me hear from Anne, because I know you have the solutions and you're already implementing them.
I think it calls for collective responsibility, where we cannot say that this section of the government will do this, maybe Nakada will do this, or the national government. It's everybody. Everybody has to come on board, from the individual to the family to the community to the county government, national government. Rehabilitation doesn't have to be expensive to be effective. We can do it at the village level, where we have people who are actually bringing these people together. Because what a person with substance use disorder needs is love and acceptance. The moment we start pushing them out, they go to where they are accepted. And where are they accepted? In the drinking dens, in the drug dens. That is where they will actually go. That is where they'll steal things and take.
Yeah. Much as I empathize with that thought,
Yes.
It's very difficult for a family who is currently trying to deal with a person who's addicted to share love, because they steal from you, they lie to you. You know, where do we find the grace to extend to them?
I ended up in rehab because somebody brought out the good in me when everybody else was just bringing out the bad. Someone came and told me, Anne, you're beautiful, you're still intelligent, you're a public speaker, you can make a difference in this nation. That's how I ended up in the treatment facility. But everybody kept on telling me how useless I was. So I distanced myself from anybody who was close to me, because the people who will actually question your drinking are the people who love you, but the approach is so wrong. Mm-hmm. The approach is so wrong. So if we can educate them to embrace these people and make them know that they are sick people who need professional help, we will get a breakthrough.
Okay. Is the clergy, is the sheikhs, the qadis, are they doing enough? Are our religious bodies involved?
In fact, they are doing nothing. When I started this Okoa Usoni program, I went to them.
The church, you mean?
The church, the clergymen, not my church, but the entire church in Moranga. In fact, I started with more than 500 pastors. We started the journey, but along the way, there were people who took stones and started throwing at me, saying, how can you dine with the sinners? How can you mingle with drunkards and addicts? It's like they have judged our youth, they have judged the alcoholics, forgetting that they were sent by God to search for souls. So to me, I think the church should raise up. The church should not be money-oriented. The church should stop being judgmental. And the church should not and should stop demonizing alcoholism.
Let me hear some other solutions from this side. I know you wanted to say something.
I think we need to come to a place whereby as a society, as a nation, we are talking about preventive measures, starting from schools. Because I do advocacy in schools, and you might be thinking even our children are not exposed to drugs. But let me tell you, that is where issues to do with drugs are so much. Yeah. So we need to go back from there in schools, in churches, in youth organizations, and everywhere in the society, and speak much about prevention.
Okay, so Canon, you'll be the second to last person. Again, is there such a thing as ethical partying? Because you don't want to tell people what they can and cannot drink, but is there a way for us to enjoy it without it being excessive?
I have a lot of stories with my clients. We make a rapport. We have like an experience. We are talking about the things that are affecting them. So while they are drinking, that is when they open up. Mm-hmm. And you realize that if they have a problem, that is when you have like a chat to go about it. Yeah. So there's this scenario, maybe you'll find maybe someone who's been drinking. He had one bottle, the second bottle, or the third cocktail, and he feels like he needs to go to the fifth cocktail, right? And if you observe the person, I think he has reached his limit. I can suggest maybe a glass of water to tone down. Sometimes I've organized for like an Uber to take a client home, and because I'm behind the bar and it's business, right? It has an economic impact on me. I have to sell.
Yeah, but I like what you've said. So being your brother's keeper. All right, so Shiro, we want to wrap with you. If you had a chance to, go back in time to when you first touched your first bottle, what would you tell that version of yourself? And what would you tell anybody who might be watching who is struggling at any stage of addiction?
I would tell myself, please don't even try it, because it's all fun and games. I mean, I got into it not wanting to be an addict. Nobody wants to be an addict. It was all fun and games until now. The people I used to drink with, now they can quit, but now I'm left with the burden of I can't quit. I can't get out of it. Yeah. Now I just have to keep getting high over and over again to numb the pain and the misery I'm feeling. Yeah. So I would tell my younger self, please, just keep off drugs. Don't take even that first sip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your thoughts. And to all of you, we asked a simple question at the beginning of this debate. What is the problem? Evidently, a very complex one. And the answer to that problem, if you ask me, a lot of compassion and grace. Thank you all for watching.